Hello everyone, welcome you all to Eternal IAS. And in today's lecture, we are going to start another five set of questions, which are going to be very important from the prelims point of view. And whosoever is preparing for the upcoming prelims, you must have these questions right, and you must see that how much you all are prepared for the upcoming exam. Let's see question number one. First question is all about the radiocarbon dating technique. Right, you all have heard about that. Why this was in news? Recently, radiocarbon dating brought the first verifiable way to keep time to many fields of science. Right, so it is like more accurate now. So, what exactly is the radiocarbon dating technique? Let us see some important factual information. So, radiocarbon dating technique is used to check or determine the approximate age of an object. So radiocarbon dating is like to check, or you can say it is the C14 carbon dating scientifically method that can accurately, not exactly, but yes, it is used to determine the exact age of organic materials. Right? This technique was first developed by the University of Chicago by Willard Libby. Right? So you must know about who has discovered this thing also. So first statement is right. Second question, it is employed for only those objects which contain organic material, correct? This technique is useful only for entities which are currently living. So this is not totally correct. This carbon dating is used to establish the age of organic material. Right, like recently Allahabad High Court allowed ASI to conduct carbon dating of a shivling inside the Gyan Vapi mosque in the Varanasi, UP. Right, so it is established to determine the age of organic materials, things that were once living. Right, it is not currently living, that were once living. Right, the carbon dating is based on the fact that C14 is radioactive and decays at a well known rate. C14 is an isotope of carbon with an atomic mass of 14. Okay, and carbon dating cannot be applied in all the circumstances. It cannot be used to determine the age of non living things like rocks, right? And also the age of the things that are more than 40, 50,000 years old, and that cannot be arrived, you cannot arrive at the conclusion through the carbon dating. Because the after 8 to 10 cycles of half life, the amount of C14 becomes very undetectable. Okay, so how we can determine the age of non-living things then? See, for the living things, we can have radioactive carbon dating. But for the non-living things, what we can have? For the non-living things, we can have potassium, argon, and uranium method. First. Second is exposure to sunlight. This is also one of the important thing. And last is indirect carbon dating. So these are the important ways you should know about that, right? Because recently this was in news, as I told you, Gyanvapi Moscow has been given this. So this is the required amount of data you should remember. Moving on to the second question. Second question is about the ports recently in news: Wajima, Sylhet, and Berbera. Recently, recently these all are news. All of these ports were in news, right? Wajima city was in news. Sylhet here you can see, and here is the Barbera. I think Barbera is here, right? You can see it here. Okay, I shall zoom it for you also. You can see. See, I like you all. I have taken the pictures of these. So I hope you all have got the location of these ports. Bajima is not in Myanmar. Bajima port is in Japan. Sylhet is in Bangladesh and Berbera is in Somalia. Second and third statement are right. First is wrong. Recently, Ethiopia signs back to use Somaliland's Red Sea port, which is what port? Which is this one, Wajima port. Sorry, Berbera. right? So that's why these ports were in news, and you should remember the name of these ports because these places are in news. Whatever place is in news, that is important for the UPSC. Wajima is a city in Japan, right? It is a city, and this city has a port, that is Wajima. Location, Japan, right? Same as that way, Sylhet. Sylhet port is very much famous also. Sylhet port is in Bangladesh, and you can say it is one of the largest cities also in Bangladesh. And this region is well known for tea gardens and tropical forest. And it has a history of conquest and heritage from the different type of culture. That's why it is a very famous place. And this port is located, this Sylhet port is located on the bank of Surma River. Which river? Surma River. Again, very important point, right? And if I talk about Barbera, which is again very important port, it is located in Somalia. Barbera port, official seaport of Barbera, the commercial capital of Somaliland. And it is also a major port of Somalia. Getting my point? So these are the ports which was in news. You can just remember these names. And another one important fact which I forgot, but I can write it here. Barbera port's ancient name was also in news. So Barbera's ancient name was Port of Malau. Which port? Port of Malau. Okay. Moving on to the next question. Third question here in the series is about the 30 into 30 biodiversity target. This 30 into 30 is exactly what? Why it is in news and why this you should know. 30 into 30 biodiversity target. I hope you can understand 30 by 30 biodiversity. This has been adopted in 2022. It is the biodiversity targets for 2030, right? 2030 to protect 30% of the planet by 2030, right? This is the main thing. Getting my point? So, global diversity framework, they have given a catchy slogan of 30 by 30. So now the question here says that this diversity target has been done by which one? So it is an initiative of IUCN in Democratic Republic of Congo, right? So this 30 by 30, target, this whole target has been the, you can say this is like recently being agreed by all the personalities to conserve the nature and to mitigate the climate change. And it has been agreed by more than 50 countries, right? It was agreed at COP15 meeting at CBD, Convention on Biological Diversity, right? And it is the Kuming Montreal Global Biological Framework. Getting my point? This is the third question. Again, the question is again very, very important because this target was like always in news. This target is always, you will find this in news. And you can find a question on this topic from the mains perspective also, GS3. Like question can be what is 13 to 30 initiative? What are the implications for biodiversity conservation? Discuss the challenges and opportunities for India in achieving this target. So you have to explain that this 30 by 30 target implies of at least protection of 30% of the world's land and ocean by 2030. And it is a global target that aims to halt and the accelerating loss of species and protect the ecosystem that are the source of our economic security. And this has been endorsed by more than 100 countries, including European Union, G7, India also. Right? Then you can tell the some of the challenges related to that. You can tell what exactly is related to this thing. Okay, so that's how you're going to write this answer. 30 by 30 is very important initiative to protect nature and life on earth, which has a significant benefits for biodiversity conservation, climate change mitigation, right? So this is the question you can see here. Next and the last question of this series is Central Vigilance Commission. What exactly is a CVC? Why CVC is in news? You can see CVC program concludes at IIMB. Recently, this was in news, IIMB. So we must know IIMB is what? Indian Institute of Management, Vishakhapatnam. Right? So Indian Institute of Management, Vishakhapatnam inaugurates a CVC supported program in public procurement. How the public procurement and CVC public procurement program, IIMB has got the highest rating. So that's why CVC was in news. So I thought of making question from the CVC topic. CVC here implies Central Vigilance Commission, which is an apex Indian government body created in 1964 and to address the corruption thing in India. In 2003, Parliament enacted a law to give statutory status to the CVC. Now it is a status of autonomous body, free of control any executive authority, and it can charged with all the vigilance activity under the central government. Right? And presently, Praveen Kumar Srivastav is the head of CVC Central Vigilance Commission, and it reports to Parliament of India. So this first statement is totally correct. It is an independent body, correct? Only responsible to Parliament, and it presents annual report to Parliament, or you can say union government, central government, or Parliament. All is correct. The headquarters is located in Delhi, the main seat, right? Appointed by president, and term to which they are appointed, that is 4 years or 65 years. Upon which committee's recommendation it has been given? The committee recommendation was K. Santhanam. Santhanam committee gave the recommendation for the formation of CVC, right? And you can say this commission was given statutory status in 1964. No, I told you in 2003 Parliament gave this the statutory status, right? So you can say that a committee has been formed, K. Santhanam committee, to advise the central government agencies in the field of vigilance. Then they gave up the report and they said that CVC should be formed, right? So CVC has been made, and finally statutory status has been given in 2003 by Parliament. And the annual report of CVC not only gives a detail of the work done by it, but also it brings out the system failures, which leads to the corruption in various organizations and departments. Right? So this is the important fact which you have to remember about CVC. CVC is always in news in some or the other way. Always, every time it is in news. So CVC is very important. Apex surveillance body of India. Right? And it monitors all the vigilance activity under the central government. Vigilance means that they have to ensure clean and good administration action. And it is not controlled by any ministry or any department. It is an independent body which is only responsible to Parliament. This statement is very, very important. Right? It is not an investigating body. The investigation they are having, it can be done through CBI or some chief vigilance officers. They can inquire, right? And they give all the annual reports of the work done, right? So this act or this name, this work, it is always in news. So you have to learn or understand the name of these things. Very much important from the examination point of view. What is the work done? How is this done? Right? So these are the important facts for today's class. All of this is done. I will meet you all in the next lecture of another 5 set of prelims questions. Thank you, everyone. Jai Hind.